I'm in the great city of Chicago to attend a conference for those who deny the mainstream science of climate change. Walk through the doors of the Chicago Hilton, and it's like entering an alternative reality. Here in the main ballroom, the semi-annual International Conference on Climate Change, organized by the ultra-right-wing Heartland Institute, is in full, if somewhat sedated, swing. Heartland has been in the news lately after displaying a prominent billboard message comparing those who believe mainstream science on climate with Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. Following an immediate uproar, Heartland pulled the billboard down, but on its webpage further underlined their message that the most prominent advocates of global warming were not scientists, but rather murderers, tyrants, and madmen. A number of corporate sponsors had already begun withdrawing support from Heartland's extreme agenda. After this latest outrage, that rush accelerated, and pressure began to build on the few remaining major corporate donors.
These corporations include AT&T, Microsoft, Pfizer Pharmaceuticals.
In reality, it's kind of no surprise that Heartland's being reduced to these desperate, mudslinging tactics like those absurd billboards we've seen on the hike. You know, and this really isn't the first time they've had to sink so low. I mean, Joe Bast, Heartland's president, was among that select and special group of individuals that defended Joe Camel, the tobacco industry's mascot, targeting youth to, get on the smoking bandwagon a little bit earlier.
Meanwhile, amidst conspicuously empty seats, the festivities went on, and a number of speakers addressed the group. One clear message: if you care about this planet and your children's future, your motives are immediately suspect.
You can't deny the fact that at the very heart and core of the environmental movement, the fathers and mothers of this movement were known socialists and communist thinkers.
It's identical with communists. Identical, not similar.
These are people who, if you were to query them, would have more in common with Karl Marx than James Madison.
What about Teddy Roosevelt?
Teddy Roosevelt? No comment.
The ice isn't melting.
It's just a theory.
Climate models are unreliable.
Recently leaked documents show that Heartland has plans to distort science curriculums around the country to better suit their fringe ideology and their wealthy funders. That plan was openly discussed during the conference sessions.
Cigarettes aren't addictive.
The Earth is flat.
But long term, we have to recapture the K-12 education system. That's the long-term problem. I know the Heartland Institute is deeply involved in that, independent of their activities in climate, and we've got to encourage them and many other organizations, state legislators and others to get the K-12 education back into an objective and knowledge-based context. I do want to encourage you to look at what some of the states are doing. Governor Jindal and his activities in Louisiana are particularly remarkable in the current environment.
Real excitement gripped the conference on the second day with the surprise appearance of the world's foremost climate denier, Lord Christopher Monckton. Monckton has been a fixture on the Tea Party and climate denial circuits, where he has made a living contradicting the world's climate scientists, something he admits is quite difficult given his background.
It's particularly hard if, like me, you have absolutely no scientific qualification to do so.
More recently, his lordship has been highly visible among media personalities questioning the legitimacy of President Obama's birth certificate.
You've got a president who has a false birth certificate up on the internet, on the White House website, not even clear where he was born.
At Heartland, Monckton opened with his new birth certificate routine, to the obvious delight of the crowd.
I have concluded that what one needs to have is a freshly minted Hawaiian birth certificate. Here is mine. And what is marvelous about this certificate is that in every respect and in every detail, it is just as genuine as that of the President of the United States.
Speaking just outside, Brad Johnson of Forecast the Facts put the conference and Heartland in perspective.
General Motors was the first company to end a relationship. They had been supporting the Heartland Institute for 20 years, but this year, because of people like you, they cut their ties to the Heartland Institute.
Shut them down! Shut them down!
And I just want to give them props because they did that before Heartland put up their Unabomber billboards. So they were willing to recognize that the Heartland Institute puts out really crazy and offensive work before they needed to be reminded by their president Joe Bast just how crazy they are.
In his farewell address, Heartland's Bast made a plaintive appeal for funding, leading many to wonder about the Institute's future prospects.
If you've got a rich uncle or somebody in the family or somebody that you work with, please give them a call and ask them if they would consider making a tax-deductible contribution to the Heartland Institute. We could really, really appreciate it.
As I left Chicago, the lights of the Magnificent Mile were beginning to glow. But one by one, the lights are going out on the Heartland Institute as the evidence for global warming mounts and the planet itself shows the effects ever more clearly. To keep following that story and the real facts on climate change, keep coming back here to Climate Denial Crock of the Week.